Triple H was WWE's head of creative without interruptions or anyone meddling in his business for the best part of a year. Things were pretty great until a certain demented billionaire decided to stick his oar in once again after WrestleMania 39, making things immeasurably worse quicker than you or I can shave off a misguided mustache. While Triple H's era of complete creative control was broadly great, sometimes it most certainly wasn't. I'm Andy from What Culture, and here are 10 disastrous WWE booking decisions Triple H totally botched. Number 10. KARRION KROSS. Main eventer. Bringing in KARRION KROSS as a rival for Drew McIntyre and potential opponent for Roman Reigns set the former NXT champion up to fail in ways less obvious than the gimp mask and the sub-demolition attire the year before. No, KROSS wasn't dressed up like a fanny and jobbing to Jeff Hardy in 3 minutes, but he lacked any kind of agency with his gimmick when he came back, and any impending success hinged on match quality, which, to be fair, isn't usually his strongest point, in WWE at least. He stole a win over Drew at Extreme Rules to near silence. It was a 10-minute match that felt like 40. Then he lost a cage rematch, 50-50ing the program as a whole, but giving the moral win to McIntyre. Then came the Rey Mysterio program where the same thing happened, and at the moment, KROSS just isn't really working. Number 9. Getting the SmackDown Women's title away from Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase to defeat Ronda Rousey felt cathartic for her fans, of which there are many, who'd watched her earnestly crawl her way to the top of WWE without really breaking through for years. But the reign that followed wasn't all that compelling. Liv was portrayed as Lucky, a fluke artist, rather than a believable competitive champion. Her wins were pretty much banana skins, unconvincingly beating Shayna Baszler at Clash at the Castle, having barely squeaked past Rousey in their rematch. Morgan was a paper champion that never once felt validated before eventually losing the belt back to Ronda. And unfortunately, things don't really improve from there. Number 8. Getting the SmackDown Women's title away from Ronda Rousey. It took Ronda Rousey almost 12 months to have a match resembling the magic of her first WWE run when she faced Raquel Rodriguez in December, and in frustratingly familiar fashion, what immediately followed it was the end of her entire title run. Rousey was defeated by a returning Charlotte Flair mere seconds after a punishing defense against Raquel. This is despite the fact that she'd played an arrogant bully heel alongside Shayna Baszler for months and beat Flair clean as a whistle back at WrestleMania Backlash. So after that, you had Charlotte Flair as a babyface, which never works, and Ronda had to take a month off before eventually refocusing her energies in the tag division. Brilliant. Number 7. Trivializing Top Dollars Botch. There's a whole online cottage industry of weird losers on Twitter who just exist to make fun of wrestling botches in the most mean-spirited way imaginable. You know the accounts, I've got them all blocked. But while those grass-averse losers are pretty easy to ignore once you mute or block them, it's harder to ignore these things when it happens on WWE television. Top Dollar messed up doing a dive on the 16th of December episode of SmackDown. You know this because WWE battered you over the head with it across the following weeks. After a pathetic skit framing all the babyfaces on SmackDown as jock bully pricks making lame jokes at Top Dollar's expense, Michael Cole became the most savage of the lot. Burying the man and hit Row on the regular, this is Triple H's mean streak coming out in the form of a booking tactic that has never ever worked. Poor Top Dollar, man. Diving through the ropes is really difficult, and he's done it before, so it's not like he can't do it. Maybe we should be a little bit nicer. Perhaps. I'm just saying. Number 6. Bayley versus Becky Lynch. How do you blow a feud between two esteemed horsewomen in 2023? How on earth do you accomplish such a feat, making a meal of a long-awaited storyline between two of the most popular and decorated wrestlers in their division? You give Triple H the booking pencil, apparently. From babyface Becky dusting Bayley off as a Karen years after the joke had lost steam, to the cage match getting cut for time and eventually scrapped on Raw is Triple X, the feud has been an overlong circular slog that only started picking up steam when Lita and Trish Stratus arrived. By the time Bayley and Becky finally got in the cage, the bloom was off the rose. And it's far from the only thing wrong with the women's division at the moment either. Number 5. the entire women's division. Comfortably, the most disappointing feature of Triple H's WWE is how he has booked the women's division. This is the man, lest we forget, who helped spark the revolution down in NXT, but in 2023, he is struggling, and so is the scene as a whole. Charlotte Flair, in particular, remains unconvincing in whatever babyface role they tried to present her. It's not Charlotte's fault, she's just much better as a heel, so why, after so many failed attempts that Vince had of making it work, is his son-in-law doing the same thing? And then you have the kind of Rhea Ripley situation. She's tremendous. She's awesome. But why didn't she challenge Bianca Belair at WrestleMania? They'd already teased it before. People were really excited for it. And then it just didn't happen. Okay. Bianca, meanwhile, is starting to no longer feel like a big-time attraction. And Asuka, she got the awesome Royal Rumble return, but the build to her match with Belair was just kind of staring at each other and dribbling goo and holding the belt, and yeah, that's not the best way to book these people. The scene is all over the place at the moment. It's almost depressing to see it in such a state, and Triple H really needs to get his finger out. Number 4, Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. This is one of those feuds that seemed impossible to mess up until it happened, and it was profoundly messed up. Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar at Royal Rumble 2022 was left wanting, becoming a device to heat up yet another WrestleMania rematch between Brock and Roman Reigns that everybody wanted, of course. A Saudi Arabia rematch scanned as an inconvenience when WWE booked Lashley to batter Brock after already being beaten clean. Then, when they were booked for Elimination Chamber this year, the payoff was another bait and switch when Brock won via low blow. Rarely has good old days Major League big man wrestling felt so small time. We can only hope that these gigantic, awesome men get one more chance at having a pretty sick match before they eventually ride off into the sunset. Number 3. Everything about damage control. A concept that looked fantastic on paper ultimately failed. You remember when they came together, when Bayley made her triumphant return and she was joined by Dakota Kai and Io Sky, who, hey, haven't these people left the company? Was the big talking point before they re-emerged. It was really sick. It felt like a jolt of adrenaline in the arm of the women's division, a hot new direction for Sky and Kai under one of the absolute pinnacle wrestlers in that division, and it hasn't worked out. Bayley, as the leader, hasn't elevated Dakota or Io in any conceivable way. They haven't really helped her either, if we're being honest. And damage control, well, they held the women's tag team titles for a period, but it felt very much like a reign for a reign's sake. Can any of us sit here and honestly say that these awesome wrestlers elevated a lowly championship? Did they feel more important for holding those belts before eventually dropping them to Lita and Becky? It feels like a gigantic missed opportunity across the board. These people are awesome, and they could be awesome together, but the writing has ultimately let them down, and that's a real shame. We will ultimately look to view damage control as a colossal disappointment, and it shouldn't have worked out this way. Number 2, Bray Wyatt's return. Bray Wyatt's comeback was a creative and commercial smash. The White Rabbit saga engaged fans, drew viewers, and pulled people in. Extreme Rules ticket sales spiked, and when he finally showed up on SmackDown, it generated a monster audience as well. The buzz was real, it was palpable, but less than 6 months later, barely feels like it even happened. Uncle Howdy was introduced as a dark side to Bray's lighter life before being made real and preposterous as a guffawing crackpot in a slash hat. Revisiting one of the worst ideas of the entire pandemic as well, Alexa Bliss was somehow dragged back into the character's orbit too. Then, at Royal Rumble, the truth was revealed. Wyatt wasn't for your investment, but for corporate investment. The Mountain Dew pitch black match with LA Knight was a calamitous mess. Bray Wyatt is now a glorified fizzy juice salesman, which I'm sure is exactly what people wanted for him after clamoring for his return for so damn long. And at number 1, Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes. At the time I am recording this, Triple H is facing understandable criticism for what happened at WrestleMania 39, where Roman Reigns defeated a white-hot Cody Rhodes to retain the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. It was the first real time in Triple H's run that he has, in the eyes of many, gotten a major call wrong. Well, many would argue the same thing happened at Elimination Chamber 2023 as well. There, it was Sami Zayn who was famously beaten by Reigns, with the counterpoint being that Rhodes was just as hot and would eventually win the belt at Mania. So Sami was still going to get his slice of the cake in the tag team title match with Kevin Owens, Cody would win the big one, and everyone would be happy. I bought into that argument myself as well. When Cody entered WrestleMania season proper like he was walking on the surface of the sun, it seemed like WWE deserved a bit of credit for not tearing up the playbook like Vince McMahon would have done so recklessly in the past. But Triple H has now played a very dangerous game with two incredibly popular babyfaces. It's very rare that one of these characters comes along in pro wrestling, let alone two of them at the same time. And while the regime likely deserves a bit of patience here, if we fast forward 6 months to a year, say, and Zayn and Rhodes aren't anywhere near as over as they were before they faced Roman, then we've got some serious problems here. But anyway guys, that's it. That's my list of Triple H's few booking fumbles in WWE so far. It's been pretty great. The shows are good, man. I'm having a good time with WWE these days. But there are some problems, and we've just ran through them. Let us know what you think in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. Then follow us on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE and myself at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for H, you dumbass. Goodbye.